All right. Now, that leads us to our next discussion, which is about the longshoremen. I think I was calling them port shoremen. Not terribly inaccurate, but also not true. The Longshoremen, International Longshoremen's Association. All right. This guy is the one kind of leading the discussion. I believe he might be like the president of the union or something like that. I'm sure we'll find out in just a moment. But very chilling words. And if you're an American citizen, this should frustrate the hell out of you, right? All of these unions, these strikes, all of this. Look, I get it. You have to negotiate for fair wages. And there's a certain way to go about that. And having a union is maybe nice if you're somebody who works in this type of job, and you also want to decimate the economy for a 50% raise on your $150,000 salary. Now, I'm not saying these guys don't deserve that type of money. I'm not saying that they're in the complete wrong here in terms of making the strike, but understanding what could be the potential outcome for this as a result is pretty terrifying too. Now, maybe you put that back onto the longshoremen, the organizations that they work for, and say, hey, maybe you should pay them more. Maybe you should stop the automation. We'll talk about all of that, which is the reasons why they actually are going on this type of strike. Let's go ahead and watch this clip.
Today's world, it's changing into the future. They're not making millions no more. They're making billions, and they're spending it fast as they make it. I want a piece of that for my men, because when they made their most money was during COVID. When my men had to go to work on those piers every single day, when everybody stayed home and went to work. Not my men. They died out there with the virus. We all got sick with the virus. We kept them going. From Canada to Maine to Texas, Great Lakes, Puerto Rico, now the Bahamas, everybody went to work during COVID. Nobody stayed home. I want to be compensated for that. I'm not asking for the world. They know what I want. They know what they want, and if they don't, then I have to go into the street, and we have to fight for what we rightfully deserve. These people today don't know what a strike is.
Right.
When my men hit the streets, from Maine to Texas, every single port will lock down. What's gonna happen? I'll tell you. First week, be all over the news every night, boom, boom. Second week, guys who sell cars can't sell cars because the cars ain't coming in off the ships. They get laid off. Third week, malls start closing down. They can't get the goods from China. They can't sell clothes. They can't do this. Everything in the United States comes on a ship. They go out of business. Construction workers get laid off because the materials aren't coming in. The steel's not coming in. The lumber's not coming in. They lose their job. Everybody's hating the longshoremen now, because now they realize how important our jobs are. Now I have the president screaming at me, I'm putting a Taft-Hartley on you. Go ahead. Taft-Hartley means I have to go back to work for 90 days. That's a cooling off period. Do you think when I go back for 90 days, those men are gonna go to work on that pier? It's gonna cost the company's money to pay their salaries. They went from 30 moves an hour maybe to 8. They're gonna be like this. Who's gonna win here in the long run? You're better off sitting down and let's get a contract and let's move on with this world. And in today's world, I'll cripple you. I will cripple you, and you have no idea what that means. Nobody does.
Oh, I love the nice music at the end there. I will cripple you. Not I will cripple you, the Longshoremen's Associate, or the organizations that they work for. No, I will cripple the men and women. He even said it in there. I will cripple the car salesman. I will cripple the small business owners. I will cripple the American family trying to get food to their table. Right now, you want to talk about what they're trying to negotiate here, what they want out of this strike. They want a 5-year 50% raise. They currently make about $150,000. They want a 5-year 50% raise, 10% every year for the next 5 years. The other part of this was about automation. They want to have the companies that they work for stop using automation. Apparently on the previous contract that they utilized, and this comes from a video I watched, I haven't validated the contracts, but allegedly they want the organizations that they work for to promise they won't use AI, promise they won't use automation, promise that they won't take their jobs eventually over time like every other industry is dealing with. The same thing that we saw with the writers' strike, right? How long did it take for them to come to an agreement? Almost a year. It was like 8 months, maybe even longer. right? That's why all the movies sucked for all of last year. So the question is, what's going to come from this, right? And what is the expectation here? If you don't move with the times, you're going to expect them to just never use automation, never use AI. And if they do, you're all going to quit. But doesn't that just speed up the use of automation? China's already doing this. China is already, all of their longshoremen, all of their seaports that are taking in all of their goods or shipping it, more than likely if you're in China, all of those are already automated. There's videos out there that you can watch right now of these guys that sit behind the computer and they're working 9 to 10 screens, all telling these vehicles where to go and what to pick up and how to move it and all of this stuff. So they're hyper efficient compared to what we're doing. How do you expect it to not move that direction? And you're just going to sit on your butt and go, okay, don't do it or I'm not going to work. What is the expectation here? And how is that a solution to the problem? Why not develop a strategic agreement or alliance or profit sharing agreement that if there is automation, that there is a long-standing percentage of that automation profitability that goes towards retirement funds? There's one solution. Why not go build out the automation themselves? Why not start a company that then has the ability to, or it has the foresight to service the vehicles, right? If you have a contract on any of these automations that are then in the future, the first right to contract for that money goes to any previous longshoreman, right? So any of the automation that is being built, any of the maintenance that is being done, any of the assistance that needs to happen on the ports, all of that business immediately goes to the people who were previously hired as longshoremen. Maybe that's the agreement. But the idea that there's just never going to utilize automation and you're just going to outlast technology is just silly. So come to a better agreement, figure it out in a way that's actually useful, because this is not. These guys are going to cripple the American economy. So let's get some context here. This article comes from constructiondive.com. And it says work stoppages across East and Gulf Coast ports may cause product shortages, price hikes, and delivery issues, construction experts say. This was published yesterday, October 1st, 2024. It says as the International Longshoremen's Association went on strike this morning over a new master contract, construction pros across the country are waiting to see how the walkout, which affects ports from Texas to Maine, will impact their businesses. The ILA's talks with the United States Maritime Alliance broke down over wages and a total ban on the automation of machinery important to dock work, including cranes, gates, and container moving trucks, according to the Associated Press. The strike is the first by the union since 1977. The impacted ports are some of the main points of entry for construction materials, heavy machinery, food, vehicles, chemicals, according to the Wall Street Journal. Material delivery delays could also occur in other regions of the country, according to Manufacturing Dive. Exports of oil, liquefied natural gas at Gulf Coast ports will likely be unaffected due to the ILA has little or no involvement in those operations. Bill Fleming, senior vice president at the New York-based consulting firm Cumming Group, weird name, said that impacts of the strike should be felt immediately in the construction industry. Okay, so this is very specific to construction. Combine that with hurricane-induced shortages, it starts to bring up. This could be catastrophic for the U.S. infrastructure. So there's a little bit more context. I'd like maybe a little bit more, but I think you get the idea. It's all about AI. It's all about automation. It's about eliminating some of their jobs and them wanting higher pay. So not only do you want us to not use AI to lower our overhead costs, you also want us to pay you more, which is only, again, going to speed along the automation track. Automation is not going away. What is going to go away is the people who don't jump on board with helping to build that future, right? If you were somebody who is, I don't know, what's a good example of an old job that is lost? If you were a factory worker in building Model Ts by hand, you probably weren't going to decide not to work anymore once they decided to bring in some machines, right? If you were a horse and buggy taxi driver, you're not going to decide not to drive a car, right? There's a new way to do what you do and to help push along the production line. You just have to figure out what that part is and see it soon enough to play a part, right? Don't fight against this. It's going to happen. There's going to be automation, right? Maybe you get your raise because you add more skills around automation, not just eliminate the use altogether, right? Seems silly to me. And the fact that they're going to shut down our country over some ridiculous claim that there's going to not be any automation or AI integrated into this type of industry is ridiculous. It's never going to happen. There's always going to be the next best thing and movement in industry. And for them to say, we're going to cripple small business owners, we're going to cripple young families, we're going to cripple the entire US economy until we get our way, we get a 50% salary increase off of our $150,000 a year salary. I'm not saying they don't deserve that. They deserve that, and they probably deserve more. And it's a freaking hard job. It's a crazy difficult job. I'm not discounting that. But what I am saying is that you can't fight back against automation. It's going to happen. And if you don't do it, your company is going to go under because another company is going to come in and do it at a lower cost. Or they're going to outsource that work to other people and you're just going to lose your job altogether. So that's where we're at with that. Now, there's people sounding the alarm. There was lines outside the door at Costco yesterday, people bulk purchasing toilet paper and dry goods so that if and when the supply chain fails over the next couple of weeks, that they have what they need. Now, I'm not saying you need to go do that. I'm not saying not to do it. It's probably a good idea always to have reserves of food, reserves of water, reserves of gas. I'm not sure if there's a way to really do that, but if there was, you should probably do that. Generators, all of that stuff, guys. Just if we've learned anything over the last 4 to 5 years, there is going to be some sort of catastrophic event that cuts us off from the grid. There's going to be supply chain shortages. COVID was just a glimpse into that. Maybe start to do something about that. Not specifically because of this, but just because you should, right? Because if it's not this, it's going to be something else. Be prepared. We got one more thing here. One more thing. Let's see this one more article and then we'll move on. Because I think we got it. This is a big deal, guys. Let's watch this one. Same guy.
Knocking down doors. She's trying to stop this. She's trying to get us to a media where we can have a fair negotiations. It's the companies that don't want to. They don't want to sit here and be fair. So that's why we're out here fighting for our livelihood.
What more from the automation do you want? What more protections could there be?
What more?
Yeah, they have language in there now.
Not strong enough, because what happens is they come in with new technology. We just caught them in Mobile, Alabama, called AutoGate, and that means the trucks are coming in and they're already checked in somewhere else and not using the checkers in the ILA. Circumventing the contract. They don't care. They don't care. It's not fair. And if we don't put our foot down now, they would like to run over us, and we're not going to allow that.
You are going to grind the economy to a halt here on the East Coast and the Gulf Coast.
Not us. They are. Don't spin it now because you're Fox News. They're going to drive it.
But are you worried?
They're going to drive it.
Are you worried that this
They have the
strike?
capital to settle this thing.
Are you worried that this strike is going to hurt the everyday American, the farmers that need to reach the export market? They're
Listen,
telling me that they're going to hurt through
Now
all
you
of
start
this.
to realize who the longshoremen are, right? People never gave a about us until now, when they finally realized that the chain is being broke now. Cars won't come in, food won't come in, clothing won't come in. You know how many people depend on our jobs? Half the world. And it's time for them and time for Washington to put so much pressure on them to take care of us, because we took care of them. And we're here 135 years and brought them where they are today, and they don't want to share.
Fox Business' Lydia Hu joins us now from the port of Newark in New Jersey.
Wow.
And I've been following you. We have been, as you've done this story for us. And now the rubber has met the road. And he feels like he's dug in and feels like he's in a strong position. Is he in as strong a position as he thinks or appears to seem to be?
He certainly feels like he's in a strong position, and he's probably looking around at other unions and the wage gains and the record contracts that they have notched in recent years. Just last year, the West Coast port workers got a new contract with a 32% wage hike over 4 years. So now Mr. Daggett, the president, is looking at that and saying, we want that and better. Just yesterday, Dana, Mr. Daggett rejected port management's offer of a 50% wage hike over 8 years. Just to give you an idea of where they stand right now, it does
So
seem
8
like the
years,
two
not 5
sides are
years.
still far apart, but he does at least see.
Wow. So you see, this guy is on a power-hungry streak, right? Again, they have a fair contract, 80 or 50% increase over 8 years. Seems pretty fair to me. The idea that there's already language in the contracts that say that they can't use automation seems pretty fair to me. Bring up the litigation against the company. right? Go to the court with them. Don't cripple the entire country, all of the small business owners, families trying to feed their children because you want to be selfish. And again, you're just going to get replaced. This is so stupid. What are you doing? Ridiculous. These unions are a problem, dude. These unions are, the union, that guy is an absolute idiot. He's sitting there riling up his team, getting these